Hi. So I'm a film critic. My name is Linda Marrick, and if you haven't seen me on your FYP before, you're welcome to go back and look at my older videos and sort of get acquainted with what I do. I'm, as I say, a film writer, film critic who's written for a number of national newspapers, including the JC, Daily Mirror, the Sun, the New Scientist, Empire, NME. I mean, name it, and I've written for it, and for over the last 15 years, and I have, I count myself as someone who knows what she's talking about when it comes to films. I graduated a film studies degree from King's College London, and I have been passionate about film all my life, and from the age I'd say the age of about 6 or 7. So safe to say that, as I said, I know what I'm talking about. Now, I wanted to broach the subject of the Michael Jackson biopic. And I'm not saying this from a point of view of someone who knows nothing about Michael Jackson. I was a massive fan, like proper obsessive fan as a child. And then I kind of went on sort of to really like him in my early teens. And then by the age of maybe 16, 17, he became oddly sort of uncool for me, and when I started listening to more indie stuff and went towards that way. But his music has always meant a lot to me, even when I didn't consider myself so much of a hardcore fan. And why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because I've seen that fellow critics have been getting so much so much hate for their reviews, the Michael reviews, and I'm not going to criticize any critic because I've reviewed the movie, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I think some people would have liked me to give it more than 3 out of 5 stars, and I think the reason why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars is possibly nothing to do with the screenplay itself or the way they decided to make the movie. I kind of liked the performances and the memories of listening to those songs early on in life and being completely enthralled by the character of Michael Jackson and the rise to sort of this global stardom. Those things meant a lot to me in the past. As I say, I'm not coming at this from a completely clueless point. I was and I was a fan of Michael himself, and then I became a fan of his music in later life rather than him as a human being, for obvious reasons. Now, the reviews and the difference between the general public reception to the movie and the reviews, there is definitely, a huge problem that a film like this is being seen. I mean, it's breaking all records. It's being seen by millions of people, and some critics seem to not understand why that's happening or are offended by it happening. Here's why I think. Michael Jackson was the first global Black African-American star that was liked and loved and adored by audiences, by people from all ethnicities all around the world. Like literally at one point in sort of the late 80s, if you showed a photo, even just a caricature to him in Timbuktu, if you went to one of the least well-known areas in Africa, or sort of East Africa, or the most isolated place in Asia, and showed them a caricature of Michael Jackson, they'll know who he is. So he's someone who has transcended his own country. He's not just known in America. He's not just known in English-speaking world. In fact, many people learned to speak English thanks to Michael Jackson because they wanted to know what he was saying. So he's a really important historical figure when it comes to music and popular music. To completely dismiss all of that, saying no movie should be made about him, I find that absolutely ridiculous, especially coming from white critics, white English speaking critics. I have seen very few critics of color being sort of given a voice to talk about this. And I find that really kind of worrying. As I say, I don't think the movie is perfect, but I completely understand why people are seeing it in cinemas and going back to see it. And it's going to be the biggest film of the year, you know, whether we like it or not, whether broadsheet critics like it or not. And I think it's really silly to dismiss a whole millions and millions of people's passion for this singer, regardless of the reputation. And enjoying the movie doesn't mean you are excusing the behavior and of the singer. I have said in my review that I wasn't sure whether the movie should exist. Clearly, the movie should exist. Now thinking about it, because it's making millions, and quite rightly, people are going to cinema to see it. And any movie that brings people back to cinema is welcome in my eyes. And it's Universal needs a win, and they're getting they are the success story of the year. So if I'm open if anyone wants to ask me a question, and I'm also open if anyone wants me to come on their show or their podcast to talk about it. As I say, I have my if you Google me, you'll see that I'm not someone who's just talking as a sort of a bystander. I am someone who's worked in the film industry or written by the film industry for many years, so I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so go ahead. Feel free to ask me any question, and feel free to sort of give me your opinion. I just think it's really important to try and understand the sort of audience behavior when it comes to biopics, and not to dismiss them as a bit rubbish, when people are obviously getting a lot of satisfaction from them. Okay, I'll leave it there.